Garden of Eden is named a World Heritage Site. Surprise, turns out some Mexicans want to build a wall, and the mafia may be selling weapons to ISIS. This is SkyWatch TV for Tuesday, July 26th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, at least 19 people are dead, 26 more injured by a man with a knife in Japan. This attack took place early last Tuesday morning at a care facility in the city of Sagamihara, west of Tokyo. A former employee of the facility, a man in his 20s, turned himself into police about half an hour after the attack and confessed, reportedly told police the disabled should disappear. An 86-year-old Roman Catholic priest in France was beheaded this morning by two men who burst into his church during morning mass. The church, located in Saint-Étienne-de-Douvray near Rouen in Normandy, the two men took nuns and parishioners hostage before police sharpshooters neutralized them. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack through its Amaq news agency. There are reports that one of the attackers was a local man under electronic tag surveillance for trying to travel to Syria last year. His bail terms allowed him to travel unsupervised between 8:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., and the attack this morning took place between 9 and 11. 12 people were wounded in an explosion at a bar in southern Germany Sunday night. The suicide bomber, a 27-year-old Syrian immigrant, was killed in the blast. The attack took place in the city of Ansbach in Bavaria. The attacker reportedly denied refugee status last year, but allowed to stay in Germany because of the ongoing violence in Syria. Could Pharmakeia be playing a role in the Islamic State's brutality? Pharmakeia in the Bible is equated with witchcraft in the books of Galatians and Revelation. It is, of course, the root word of pharmacy, pharmacological, pharmaceuticals, equating the use of drugs with sorcery and witchcraft. There are reports that ISIS fighters are provided with a drug called Captagon. Now, this is originally a medicine developed in France in the early 1960s, one part amphetamine, which of course is a stimulant, and one part theophylline, which is usually used to treat asthma and COPD. Combined, it appears to be a stimulant, an intellectual and physical stimulant. But it was banned in France in the 1970s and in the UK in the 1980s due to side effects like heart attack, depression, and of course addiction. But it's still being produced in areas controlled by the Islamic State. Another side effect of Captagon is that it suppresses inhibitions and empathy and sharply increases the pain threshold. It's been reported that some ISIS fighters in attacks have been shot without appearing to realize that they'd been wounded. So a fighter on Captagon has increased blood and oxygen flow, less fatigue, lower stress, and no sense of danger or inhibitions about inflicting pain on other people or taking lives. Captagon is cheap and easy to produce, costs about 20 cents a pill. But from a supernatural standpoint, which is how we tend to look at things, it appears to be the perfect gateway drug, as in it opens a gateway to the spirit realm, allowing the demonic guides of these ISIS fighters to lead them in their acts of brutality. And what has to be a classic case of incredible short-sightedness, it appears that organized crime in southern Italy may be supplying assault weapons to groups connected to the Islamic State. Security officials in Europe have traced weapons used by Islamists to a Sicilian crime family with links to the mafia. AK-47s reportedly sold by this family to gun smugglers in Alexandria, Egypt. Those AK-47s wound up in the hands of Islamic militants in the Sinai Peninsula and as far away as France. This is like the famous line by Vladimir Lenin, one of the founders of Soviet communism. The capitalists will sell us the rope with which we will hang them. Similarly, the Sicilian crime lords will find that they will be up against the wall with the rest of us as soon as the Islamists no longer need them to obtain weapons. And here at home, by the way, in case you're keeping score, so far this year it is now 6,703 to 23, kind of lopsided. That score, by the way, is the number of Muslim Syrian refugees versus Christian Syrian refugees who've been allowed into the United States. The Navy's newest aircraft carrier running into reliability issues In fact, the USS Gerald R. Ford is already 2 years late for deployment, may not be ready before November of this year. According to a report obtained by Bloomberg News, the Ford may struggle to launch and recover aircraft, mount a defense, and move munitions. Since those tasks are essentially what the Gerald R. Ford is designed to do, you can see where this might be a problem for the sailors on board. Extended deployments of the Navy's 10 other aircraft carriers have stressed crews and made it difficult to meet global commitments. Now, setting aside whether those global commitments are wise, whether the United States should continue to try to be the world's police force, the USS Gerald R. Ford has cost American taxpayers $12.9 billion so far, the most expensive warship in U.S. history, and still not ready for action. The U.S. Marines turning to robots for help on the battlefield. They're testing a robotic weapons system equipped with sensors and cameras that can be outfitted with an M240 machine gun. That's a machine gun that fires the 7.62 millimeter NATO ammunition. This system holds the honor of being our government acronym of the week. As you know, the U.S. government loves to come up with acronyms that mean kind of what the thing does. It's called the MARS. MAARS, Modular Advanced Armed Robotics System. Tested at Camp Pendleton last week, and it'll head to the Marines' desert training site at 29 Palms later this month. If it's fielded, it would work as a member of the typical 13-person infantry squad. Now, Mars also has a bigger brother, about 5 times the weight, can be equipped with an M134 minigun, which is a 6-barrel machine gun that can fire 2,000 to 6,000 rounds per minute. Now, no doubt this will add fuel to the fire of the debate over laws, lethal autonomous weapons systems, and whether they should be used at all. Now, these systems, Mars and its bigger brother, are not autonomous as far as we know, but wouldn't take much to outfit it with an AI-controlled system and turned loose on the battlefield in places where soldiers fear to tread. Now, talk about irony. It appears that some Mexicans, at least, want a wall. Not on the northern border, of course. They want it on their southern border to keep Central Americans out of Mexico. El Mañana, one of the largest newspapers in the border state of Tamaulipas, hope I said that right, Tamaulipas, published an editorial over the weekend calling for a wall along Mexico's borders with Guatemala and Belize, saying that they're contributing to problems inside Mexico. And in a double irony, the Democrats who've criticized Donald Trump's call for a wall on America's southern border have erected a wall, an 8-foot-high fence actually, around their convention site in Philadelphia, where they're currently holding their presidential convention. The 4-mile-long wall surrounds the Wells Fargo Center to keep the hoi polloi away from the Democratic Party elites. And you can only interpret this as a gesture from Hillary Clinton to Bernie Sanders supporters, and a gesture that we will not show on this program. Mere hours after Democratic National Committee Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned over the embarrassing emails released by WikiLeaks showing how Schultz worked behind the scenes to sabotage the presidential campaign of Senator Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton announced that Debbie Wasserman Schultz had just been hired as the honorary chair of Hillary's presidential campaign. Well, why not? Wasserman Schultz was essentially serving in that capacity anyway as the head of the Democratic National Committee. Now, the only difference between the DNC and the RNC in this election cycle is that Donald Trump won the nomination in spite of the opposition of the elites in the Republican Party. Some economic news. Caterpillar, the heavy equipment manufacturer based in Peoria, Illinois, just posted its 43rd consecutive month of declining sales year over year. 43 straight months, 3.5 years of each month's sales being lower than the same month the year before. This is 2.5 times longer than the Great Recession of 2009 and 2010. Caterpillar used to be a really good leading indicator of the state of the heavy manufacturing industry around the world. Let's hope that it's not any longer, because if it is, we're in for a real rough ride. Well, first Italy and now Portugal calling for taxpayer bailouts or bail-ins of their banks. Looks like the Portuguese banks are asking for about 7.5 billion euros to start. This follows a call from banks in Italy for about 50 billion euros to get out of trouble, to start. This is an interesting designation by the United Nations. UNESCO, which is their educational, scientific, and cultural organization, has named what some believe is the location of the Garden of Eden a World Heritage Site. Now, these are the marshlands in southeast Iraq. The wetlands down there used to cover about 7,000 square miles. They're much smaller today because back in the 90s, Saddam Hussein drained those marshlands. He was afraid that rebel groups would use the marshes as cover, places to hide from Saddam's army. The area is made up of 7 sites, 4 wetland areas, and 3 archaeological sites, including Eridu, which is really interesting. That's the first city, according to the ancient Sumerians, the very first one ever built. And according to the Bible, there's some clues in the Bible that indicate that might be the city built by Cain or by the son of Cain. It's also the site of the largest and oldest ziggurat, which is Mesopotamian pyramid ever discovered, which was devoted to the god Enki, who was the god of sweet waters, the god of fresh water. He lived in a place below the temple called the Abzu, which is the word from which we get the word abyss. So, Eridu, one of those sites, the city of and the city of Uruk. Uruk was the center of Nimrod's kingdom. In the Bible, it's spelled E-R-E-C-H, Erech. Uruk was very important in the ancient Near East between about 3,500 and about 2000 BC, somewhere in there. Archaeologists know of a thing called the Uruk expansion, that the culture based in that city, that was the seat of Nimrod's kingdom, expanded outward to cover basically all of modern-day Iraq, most of northern Syria, parts of southeast Turkey, western Iran. In fact, at its height, the kingdom of Uruk covered more ground than Saddam Hussein ever controlled at the height of his power. In fact, that was so important and influential on human history that we still call that land today by the same name, except we pronounce it Iraq. And finally, calling Samuel L. Jackson. A man was stopped from boarding a plane in Jakarta, Indonesia over the weekend when security discovered he had 10 live snakes in his pants. He was headed for Jeddah, Saudi Arabia with 10 pythons. The passenger was arrested and taken into custody for endangering flight safety. That just sounds like a bad idea all the way around. This week on SkyWatchTV, Steve Quayle is back, explains why the Nazis didn't actually lose World War II. He's talking about his new book, Empire Beneath the Ice, the Nazi base at Antarctica, and Operation High Jump, a military expedition led by retired Admiral Byrd in the late 1940s. What were they really after? What were the Nazis doing there? Steve Quayle, our guest on SkyWatch TV. You can see it 4 times today. The Victory Television Network down in Arkansas and around Memphis at 6:30 p.m. Also at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, WGGN TV in Sandusky, Ohio. WLLA TV in Kalamazoo at 7 o'clock Central. And then at 8:30 Central Time, coast to coast on the Christian Television Network. That's DirecTV Channel 376. Dish Network Channel 267, and the Glory Star Satellite Channel 117. Tomorrow, a couple of coast-to-coast options. The Cornerstone Network at 2:30 p.m. Central Time. World Harvest Television at 6 p.m. Central. That's DirecTV Channel 367 on DirecTV. And then WLLA TV in Kalamazoo tomorrow night, 10:30 p.m. Central Time. And then again on Saturday, Victory Television Network at 3:30 p.m. Central, and WCLF TV in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area at 6:30 p.m. Central. Again, Steve Quayle in his new book, Empire Beneath the Ice. And of course, we have a portable version that you can listen to while you're mowing the lawn or driving to work. Something that doesn't require a screen, so you can keep your attention on what's in front of you. It's the SkyWatch TV podcast. You'll find that online at skywatchtv.com. Just click the link in the top menu bar at the website that says podcast. During July, for your financial support of any amount while supplies last, we will send a couple of books to you to help prepare you for the spiritual war in which we are all deployed. 2 books, 50 Things You Need to Know About Satan and Demons, and Empowered by His Presence. We'll send those to you in the U.S. for your donation of any amount while supplies last. For information and to donate, log on to skywatchtv.com. And of course, your mouse click helps us a great deal as well. Just click like, share, click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And we thank you for that. And you find me on the internet here. And beginning this week, my YouTube channel features interviews conducted at the Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference. We'll be displaying the audio with some graphics there. The video versions will have to wait for the conference DVD sets, but again, you'll get to hear the audio anyway, plus the other stuff that I post online at those places. And my email address, dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And we thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. America isn't the same country that we grew up in, but it's hard to get back what we've forgotten we had. That's why Defender Publishing presents When Once We Were a Nation. 12 chapters, 12 authors, each one remembering when once we were a nation of strength, of rugged individualism, of dreams and opportunity. When once we were a nation of faith. From authors like Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, Sheila Zielinski, and more. And when you order a copy of the new book, When Once We Were a Nation from SkyWatch TV, we'll add these books free. Dancing with the Devil, an honest look at the occult. Culture Clash, Islam's War with America. Conspiracies and the Cross, how to refute the most popular attacks on the gospel. And God Bless America by Todd Starnes of Fox News. When Once We Were a Nation from Defender Publishing, because the first step to getting it back is remembering what we had.